Have you ever asked yourself, if you were to die this very moment, where would you go? Heaven? Hell? Or just nothingness? I used to believe the answer depended on God, on doctrine, on whether I did the right or wrong things, whether I prayed enough, repented enough, believed enough. But I was wrong. I died. Not in some dramatic way, no screaming, no bloody accident. I died in silence. I am Madeline Harper, 51 years old, a professor of religious philosophy at a university in the southern United States, a devout believer, a mother who once lost a child, and a soul who once thought she understood everything about sin, judgment, and salvation. But when I slipped into a deep coma after a sudden respiratory failure, I left this world. And what I saw, it was nothing like what I'd ever been taught in church. I didn't see God sitting on a throne. I didn't see angels with white wings. And I didn't see hell like in Dante's paintings, no fire, no demons. What I saw was worse. I saw myself. And that was the most terrifying part. But wait, we'll come back to that. Let me first tell you how my death began. It was a Saturday, a gray, heavy day, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. I went to the hospital with a few mild symptoms, shortness of breath, and a low-grade fever. Diagnosis, ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. I nodded at the doctor, held my daughter's hand, and joked, "Mom's just going to take a little nap. I'll be fine by morning." I didn't know that would be the last thing I'd say while fully conscious. When they intubated me, I was still semi-conscious. And then, I fell. Not a physical fall. It was a slipping of the soul, as if I had stepped off the edge into the space between two worlds. No light, no sound, only the absence of everything I had ever clung to, my name, my body, my mind. I used to teach my students about faith, that faith is the foundation of reality, that you will go where your faith leads you. Back then, I thought I was wise, until I found myself falling straight into the very hell I had once believed was real. Not because anyone punished me. No one stood pointing a finger in judgment. It was simply that the faith I had sown all my life had now grown into my reality. I found myself in a dark, thick void, directionless. There was no sense of time, only the echo of everything I had once believed to be my failures. The sound of me yelling at my little boy, the last night before he left this world forever. The dry, hollow prayers I'd recited in church were not out of love, but out of fear of damnation. The disappointed eyes of my parents, my students, and I stared back at me in the mirror. No demons were tormenting me. I was my judge. You will live forever in whatever you believe to be true. I don't remember who said that, but in that place, I realized it wasn't just philosophy anymore. It was destiny. I thought I was simply in a coma, but I was wandering through a spiritual plane, one held captive by the very doctrines I had never questioned. Have you ever believed in a harsh, punishing God? Have you ever believed you deserve to suffer? Have you ever believed that some mistakes can never be forgiven? Be careful, because when you leave this body, you may find yourself in the exact place where those beliefs are waiting for you. I wanted to scream. I wanted to escape, but I didn't even know who was holding me captive. It wasn't until much later that I realized I wasn't locked in. I was the one holding the door shut from the inside. I used to think I would be led to heaven because I believed in God, but when I died, I realized no one led me anywhere. It was my own beliefs that led me into my hell. And that was only the beginning. In the next part, you'll see how the unhealed parts of my past built the prison that trapped my soul. I was born into a devout family, a generation that dressed neatly every Sunday, nodded politely when the priest spoke, and never asked the wrong questions. My parents were the picture of faith. Their beliefs were grounded in the Bible. Every answer to life was found in a verse, a memorized passage, a page of scripture. I grew up following the rules, doing everything I was told. But what did I receive in return? Fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of not having enough faith. Fear of hell. I feared that I would never be good enough. I became a professor of religious philosophy, passing down beliefs I had never dared to examine for myself. I spoke about holiness, about judgment, about the moral path. I thought I was urging people to wake up. But in truth, I was only repeating what I had been taught. I wasn't living. I was reciting. Then my son died. A car accident. He was only 17. I tried to steady my voice and convince myself, a good soul is welcomed home by God. But deep inside, a question kept gnawing at me. If God loved him, why did he take him? I still went to church, still gave lectures, still flipped through the Bible in front of my students with practiced ease. But when someone looked me straight in the eyes and asked, "What does it mean to believe in God?" I answered from memory because I knew deep down, I no longer believed in anything that was truly mine. I was just protecting the role I was playing. I didn't blame God. I simply let go of my faith little by little, like a tree shedding its leaves. Page by page, belief by belief, falling away without me even realizing. I started ignoring the smallest things, like saying grace before a meal, like the hymns I used to sing with my son when he was little, like the sleepy look in my mother's eyes when she'd remind me about the Christmas service. I was alive, but I was no longer myself. When I collapsed in the bathroom and was rushed to the ER, the doctors said it was just a case of labored breathing from a lung infection. But for me, it was a night of darkness. My soul was tired, and quietly I had let go of life. But the universe, the soul, doesn't let go of us when we let go. It confronts us with the truth. I was tired of believing, and I was afraid because I no longer believed. But the darkest night of my life came when I had to face the consequences of the very things I had taught others to believe in. In the next part, I'll tell you about a hell without fire, without demons or chains, but far more haunting, a place where you become your judge and jailer. No light, no form, no direction. I drifted in a nameless void as if space had forgotten me, and time no longer bothered to count. There was no crying, no screaming, only the echo of my voice, but it was the voice of thoughts I had whispered in my mind for years. I'm a terrible person. This is my fault. I don't deserve to be forgiven. No one ever said those things to me. I said to myself. And now, I was hearing them again word for word, every single syllable, without missing a beat. I was drifting, but I wasn't moving. I was falling, but there was no destination. I tried to scream, but I had no mouth. I no longer had a body, only a consciousness, trapped in its torment. I saw fragments of memory, but not as images. They came as solidified emotions. The cold was when my son walked out the door for the last time. The suffocating weight as I held his death certificate, unable to shed a single tear. The hollow ache as I stood lecturing about the love of God, while my own heart felt like a desert. I used to think hell was fire. I used to think hell was torture. It wasn't. Hell is when you're forced to relive the parts of yourself you tried to forget with no way to escape yourself. Were you ever afraid of being judged? Now imagine being made to feel everything you've ever judged yourself for all at once. I saw myself on repeat, the rigid sermons I gave about sin, the way I dismissed my students' emotions because they didn't align with theology, the words I once yelled at my son, "I don't want to hear another word from you." And then I saw his eyes shatter like glass. I wasn't being punished. I was simply placed right in the middle of everything I'd never dared to face. This wasn't the hell from the books. This was the reflection room, where the soul meets itself when there's nothing left to hide behind. How long was I there? I have no idea. A minute? A year? A lifetime? Each moment felt frozen in time, then melted into tears, and I could no longer cry. I began to understand. I didn't need to be saved. I needed to let myself be forgiven. But how do you let go when you don't even know where forgiveness begins? Then I heard a sound. Not loud, not booming, not angelic. Just a quiet sound, like a breeze brushing against my mind. A song. My son's voice. The song he used to sing before bedtime. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." I used to tell him not to sing so loudly it might bother the neighbors. But now that same voice. It was the first light breaking through the darkness of my soul. I wasn't hearing it with my ears anymore. I felt the music in every cell of my soul. One note, one beat, one memory. And then light began to seep out from within me. Not from angels, not from God, but from a single moment of love I had once pushed away, now returning like the very first spark of fire. I wasn't forgiven from the outside. I began to unlock the chains I had wrapped around my own heart. I'm a terrible person. I don't deserve love. I'm not good enough. Each of those thoughts began to dissolve as I remembered the moment my son hugged me from behind and said, "Mom, you're the best person I've ever known." How could a soul be condemned? When did it still carry even a single seed of love? I began to sing, not with my mouth, but with the vibrational will of my soul. And with every note of love I sang, the darkness within me receded just a little more. I was no longer imprisoned. I had stopped imprisoning myself. No one led me out. I walked myself out of hell, not with knowledge, but with the smallest memory of love I had ever known. In the next part, I'll share what happened when my soul was lifted, and I was shown truths no book had ever taught about faith, manifestation, and life after death. After what felt like an eternity in the darkness, I felt something I had long forgotten. I was breathing, not with my lungs, but with my soul. And each time I breathed, light poured into me from within, not from outside. I used to believe I needed to be saved. But it turns out, I only needed permission to remember who I truly was. I saw a light in the distance, but it wasn't like the glow of stained glass windows or the angelic skies in paintings. It wasn't blinding. It wasn't commanding. It wasn't majestic. It was warm, gentle, and patient. That light was conscious. It didn't speak, but I knew it was calling me by my real name. My soul's name, not Madeline. I moved closer not with steps, but through a resonance, a vibrational harmony. And with every kind thought, every loving memory, the light drew nearer. And then from within that light, someone stepped forward. Not a person, not a deity, but a form made of pure light, like someone you've never met, yet somehow have remembered your whole life. No gender, no age, no voice. And yet my soul knew that being was me on a higher level of consciousness. It was me before I ever forgot I was made of light. It was me before I ever knew fear, before I was ever wounded. This didn't preach. They shared through a feeling that flowed directly into my soul. And I understood not through words, but through soul-level intuition. Love doesn't come to save you. Love comes to awaken you from the dream that you were ever imprisoned. This guided me through a space I later came to call the Library of Belief. It was a strange place. No books, no paper. Each belief appeared as either a crystal of light or a dense cloud of gray smoke. I saw one of my old beliefs, God will punish the guilty. It appeared as a cold, heavy stone, dense as lead, vibrating at such a low frequency, it pulled painful images toward it like a magnet. The guide pointed to it, not with blame, but simply to show me it was the vibration of that belief that had created the hellish experience I went through earlier. Then I saw another crystal, a small belief I once held as I cradled my son on the night he was born. Love doesn't need conditions. That crystal shimmered light as a smile, radiant and gentle, and I saw the beautiful ripple effects that belief had sent out into the world. Every belief is a form of energy, and that energy shapes reality. The guide then led me to what I now call the manifestation room, a space where streams of energy swirled like symphonies of light. Each intention, when joined with the vibration of love, would become a manifestation. But when tied to fear, guilt, or scarcity, it would become a chain. And suddenly I understood. Manifestation isn't about acquiring. It's about embodying who your soul already is. I looked back over my life. I had once manifested a career as a professor. I had gained recognition, a high salary. I had earned respect, but none of it resonated with the true essence of who I was. And that's why it never felt like enough. I bowed my head not out of shame, but because I knew that now, I was being given permission to live again, aligned with the true frequency of my soul. The guide asked for nothing, only whispered like a soft breeze across my soul, if you choose to return, live so that every action becomes a reminder, you were always light. And now, you are simply remembering. I had seen a hell built from misguided beliefs, and a glimpse of heaven born from the smallest memory of love. In the next part, I'll share with you how I faced the hardest choice to stay or to return, and why I had no desire to come back until I was given a mission I could not refuse. I stood between two streams of light. On one side, a gentle dissolution, an invitation to return to a place with no pain, no name, no burdens. On the other side, a small crack in the fabric of light, like a river waiting for my soul to swim back upstream into life. I had seen. I had understood. I had awakened, shedding layer after layer of false beliefs I had worn like armor my entire life. So why didn't I stay? Why didn't I dissolve into the light? I asked the guide, but they didn't answer with words. Instead, they placed a hand over the heart of my soul and transmitted a feeling beyond anything words could capture. You don't have to return, but if you choose to go back, it will no longer be for yourself. It will be for the souls who have forgotten that they too are light. I saw my son, not with my eyes but through a living stream of memory. He didn't blame me. He wasn't sad. He simply looked at me the way a child looks at the mother he loves more than anything in the world. Mom, you can do this. I always knew you could. And for the first time, I wept not with my body, but with my soul. Not from regret, but from the overwhelming realization that love had never abandoned me, even when I had long abandoned myself. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm only afraid of living on, without carrying the light I have just found again. I bowed my head. I placed my hand over the energetic heart of my soul, and I spoke not out loud, but from within. If I return, let me live truthfully, kindly, fully present, not to correct mistakes, but to sow the seeds I hadn't yet had the chance to plant. At that moment, the light around me began to move like a swirling wind. Not forceful, not demanding, just opening into a gentle vortex, pulling me back toward what we call a body. I glimpsed flashes of the timeline, my mother, trembling as she prayed in the corner of the ICU room. My daughter, leaning close to my ear, whispering, "Mom, can you hear me?" The doctors murmured, the hearts still not responding. I knew once I crossed that boundary, I would forget part of the light again. I would be surrounded once more by physical emotions, exhaustion, and doubt. But I wasn't returning to be perfect. I was returning to live authentically. The final light whispered to me not with words, but with a new seed of faith. Carry the light, not to preach it, but to live it. And so, I fell back. Not gently, not softly, but as if I were pulled through a million layers of matter back into blood, into heartbeats, into ragged breathing, into the urgent beeping of machines. And then, I opened my eyes. I didn't come back for myself. I came back for the love that had not yet been fully lived. For the eyes still searching for themselves in the dark. And in the final part, I will share with you what happens when you awaken from a realm of light and live in a world that is still fast asleep. I opened my eyes. There was no angelic music, no dazzling halo of light, just the hospital ceiling, the dim white lights, and the steady rhythm of the ventilator. I was awake. The nurse screamed for the doctor. My mother broke down in tears. My daughter, her small hand was still gripping mine. And for the first time in many years, I wasn't just there. I was present. I looked at my daughter. She was crying, but her eyes shone like someone who had just witnessed a miracle. And I whispered my very first words. I remember now. I couldn't explain it all. How could I describe that I had just walked through a hell without fire? How could I explain a world built entirely out of vibration? I didn't need to. I only needed to live as someone who had remembered who they truly are. In the weeks that followed, I resigned. I stepped down from my position as a professor, the place where I had once taught about faith through old, tired theories. I no longer lectured. I lived, and I let my life become the lesson. I began each morning with something I once thought was frivolous, praying not to ask for things, but simply to reconnect. Singing not for the melody, but to let my heart vibrate again. Hugging is not a ritual, but to let others know, I am here. Truly here. I didn't try to do anything grand. I poured water more slowly. I listened more deeply. I said I'm sorry not because I was wrong, but because I honored the feelings of the one standing before me. I used to be someone who reasoned about love. Now, I am someone who quietly creates ripples of love every day. With every person I meet, I ask myself, are they imprisoned by their own beliefs, just as I once was? And if they are, I don't tear down their walls. I simply light a small lamp through presence. You don't have to believe in the light. You only have to dare to question the darkness you're living in. I began sharing my story, not to be believed, but to remind myself never to forget. I must never forget. Every belief you nurture builds the world around you. And every action you take is manifesting a reality for yourself and for everyone you touch. I am no longer afraid of death, because I have died and returned. What I fear now is this, living without letting my light touch the world around me. Even now, I'm not certain what to call the place I went to. Heaven? The in-between? The library of souls? All I know is this, it was the place where I remembered I didn't need to be perfect. I just need to be real. And if you're hearing me now, if you've ever wondered whether you are worthy of returning, I want you to know, you never truly left. You're simply asleep inside an old belief. Wake up. You don't have to do anything grand. Just live one small thing authentically. A heartfelt thank you. A sincere apology without defense. A glance without judgment. A moment of forgiveness for another and yourself. Because you don't have to wait for death to awaken. You just have to pause and start living as if light were what you were born to carry. I used to believe that hell was a place I would go if I lived wrongly. But now I know hell is the place I go when I forget I was born from love. And heaven? It's not waiting somewhere beyond death. It lives in every moment you remember. You are light. And you are chosen to carry it wherever you go. No one teaches you how to live again, after you've died. There's no manual, no soul resurrection support group. There's only you with a heart newly awakened and a world that keeps spinning as if nothing ever happened. They welcomed me back with flowers, with prayers of gratitude, with stories of a miracle. But I wasn't the same person. I didn't want to live the old way. I couldn't. I began to see the world through completely new eyes. When someone lashed out at me, I didn't take it personally. I asked myself, what wound is speaking through them? When someone fell silent, I didn't grow uncomfortable. I realized, maybe they're learning how to listen to themselves. When I felt empty inside, I didn't rush to fill the space. I sat with it, the way you would sit beside a child who had just lost their father. I learned to be present instead of reacting. In the mornings, I didn't turn on my phone. I sat on the front porch, watching the sunlight quietly fall onto each leaf. I no longer prayed the way I used to, not asking for anything. I simply whispered, I am here. I am listening. I am ready to love. Some people said I had become too gentle, too vague, too quiet. I didn't explain anymore. I wasn't living to be understood. I was living to no longer betray my soul. I became an ordinary, extraordinary person. I listened to others without interrupting. I held someone while they cried without offering advice. I walked past the homeless and looked at them as I would look at a teacher someone sent to remind me about dignity. Once, I used to teach about faith. Now, I practice gentleness. I didn't open a spiritual center. I didn't write a book. I didn't preach sermons. I sow light through small, simple acts. A cup of tea brewed with hands that are not rushed. A heartfelt thank you spoken with eyes that touch the soul. A moment of pausing in the middle of the street to take a deep breath, not from exhaustion, but from gratitude. I began to attract strange people whose souls felt as though they had once passed through the same place I had been. They would ask, how are you so at peace? I didn't speak of heaven or hell or the guide. I simply said, I once forgot who I was. Now I'm learning how to remember bit by bit. Awakening doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes like a heartbeat. Steady, repeating, gentle. I don't live to tell the story of how I once died. I live to become someone truly alive before I die again. I no longer count my years. I count the days I live without turning my back on the light within me. And if you ask me, Madeline, do you have any wishes? I would smile and say, I wish that you don't have to die once to begin living, as if you've just returned from the light. If you carry in your heart a belief that makes you feel small, guilty, or unworthy. If you've ever wished for someone to understand you without judgment, without trying to fix you, please share your story in the comments. Because maybe what you write will reach another soul, right when they need it most. And if you want to hear more journeys like this, not to fear, but to awaken, to heal, and to remember who you are, hit follow on this channel. Because light doesn't spread through theory. It spreads through awakened hearts walking the path together.